Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Awaken the World. Today we present Awaken Sunday Live, dealing with family during the holidays. Today, Sunday, December 9th, 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and it looks like everything's working. Maybe throw in another comment, and we'll see if that pops across the page like it's supposed to there, please. So, this is really all about surviving Christmas. And as we talked about in our meditation this morning on the Help Awaken channel, and if you're not aware of that, we do meditations every Wednesday and Sunday mornings, as well as other meditations throughout the week as well, either via the Awaken the World group page or our Help Awaken or Awaken the World YouTube channel. Now, as I said in the meditation this morning, we tend to look at the holidays and there's a lot out there about surviving the holidays, about getting through the holidays. And a lot of that involves the family dynamic and holiday gatherings, the time of year when we're often stuffed into the same smaller space with other members of our family, perhaps relatives and friends, who from time to time we have difficulties with. And a lot of these things will come to bear fruit at Christmas time for some reason. And one of the biggest things to remember, of course, as we talked about in the meditation, is that indeed every person at the table, every person within your view, every interaction you're having is serving as a mirror unto yourself. And this can be really difficult to remember when we're dealing with a sister or a brother, perhaps, who we have difficulties with, who appear to not see things the way we wish they would see them. And we often find that we lack the patience. We can't understand their point of view. And we have to know ultimately that patience is the understanding that in this life or a prior life, we have been in that same unconscious state. We have exhibited those same types of thoughts, those same feelings about the thoughts, the same fears, the same guilt, and the reactions to those. When we can keep that in mind, when we can see in others where we have been before, a younger version of ourselves, a less aware version of ourselves, because in truth, we are all one. That will give you the patience to be able to sit at that table and see what is being reflected in yourself through the interactions with the friends and family that we may have difficulty with during the Christmas season. It's not easy, especially if there is reasons that have broken that family dynamic apart. And, Kelly, unfortunately, here we are 4 or 5 years later, and she's still struggling mightily with it. These are the ways that people are allowed to choose to behave. And, you'll notice on my little storyboard here that I have written, so what if your ego wants? And that's really what it comes down to. I asked Kelly if she understood the meditation this morning, and she didn't really quite get it at first. And I said to her, you understand that in your mind, your family is not behaving the way you want them to. They are not doing what you want them to. They are not accepting you the way you want them to. And yet, you are frustrated and upset and have difficulty because they won't accept you. And you won't be the way they want you to be. When we understand that we are equally culpable and equally responsible in any situation, we can then make one of two choices. We can choose to remain part of the problem. We can choose to keep battering our head up against that brick wall that already exists. And you know what? The brick wall is a lot harder and stronger. Chances are you're going to get a really bad headache before you do any damage to that brick wall. Or you can surrender and accept what is right now, and then make a new choice instead of repeating the old choice. Understanding the nuclear family dynamic, and there's a reason they call it the nuclear family, and yes, I'm talking about atomic bombs. I have been in the presence of more than one larger family where some of these atomic bombs have gone off. You know, the nuclear family gets blown wide open. And this dynamic, egoically speaking, oh, Debbie's here. Hello, Debbie. Nice to see you this evening over your time. So this family dynamic that blows apart, okay, egoically speaking, that is the exact same structure, the exact same egoic structure, that relationship structure, that constant tension, that constant push and pull, trying to get, being asked to give, trading, looking for the balance. That structure is the same structure we see writ larger between provinces within the country, between states within a country, between countries. Across the whole globe, writ large, this same broken, wounded family dynamic is made visible wholesale. Now, this isn't all families, but it's a whole bunch of families. And for those who are suffering in this, you have the power to end the suffering, but only for you. And through doing so for yourself, you will assist others around you, although you may not be aware, and neither may they be aware. This is hard, but it doesn't really matter whether Kelly wants her children to come by and say they love her and say Merry Christmas and have a visit. That doesn't matter. What matters is what they choose. And they have freedom of choice. We don't have to agree or like what other people choose. But if we do truly care for them, we will accept and honor their choices. That doesn't mean we have to involve ourselves with them. That doesn't mean we have to allow their choices to affect us. But we should drop the condemnation, the damnation in many cases, especially if your issues revolve around religion, i.e. a child leaving the circle of the religious family, as in Kelly's case is also what's happened and has happened with many other members of our group. In these situations, you have to let go of what your ego may want and simply choose to not participate in that damaged and damaging structure. And this structure is the same structure. It is the structure of exactly what we've been talking about the idea that because we think it should be so, someone else should also think it's so. And should accept that, and should accept us for that. And when we look at that closely, if we were surrounded by a bunch of people who did exactly what they thought, or exactly what we thought they should do all the time, well, that's kind of known as enslavement. There is no free will there. We truly have and we do as families to express as a nuclear family the limitless power of 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 joining together, the type of limitless power that would produce limitless energy on our planet, right? Where we fuse together the nucleus of the family, and that begins to fuse together all of humanity. You have to understand the underlying processes that ego goes through, and you know, as I said to one of our group members the other day, oftentimes the expressions of love that other members of our family are able to give us may not be recognizable to us in our state of consciousness. You know, in this particular case, it involved a group member where the group member's father was essentially saying, well, you know, you need to have a man in your life. And I had said to the group member, I said, is it possible that that's your father's way of saying, I'm worried for you and I love you and I want you to be cared for, because one day I won't be around to care for you. And of course, in their level of consciousness and at their level of consciousness, that is an expression of what they believe to be right and done out of a feeling of love or concern for their child. What does that show us? It shows us that the underlying process is always governed by our perception of those around us. And as we learned this morning during that meditation, that while we're sitting at that Christmas table, the perception of those around us cannot be removed from our opinion about all of it. It is our opinion of our thoughts about what we are perceiving that create our perceptions of others. In other words, you cannot separate and remove yourself from the other person to look at them wholly. The only way to look at them wholly is to realize that you are indeed them and that they are you. And see in yourself the same structure, the same dynamic that would cause you to behave in the same way. You know, one of our group members has great difficulty with her sister. And she finds her sister to be overpowering and overbearing in many ways. And what you need to do is look at that picture and see how the effect of that overpowering and overbearing has created your own perception of your sister. We do this with each other, and we do it quite naturally. It's part of that egoic mind process to catalog and to file everything, including personalities, and then have an expectation that the personality that appears in front of you will be the same personality as last time. But how much of that depends on where your personality is currently at? In developing patience and understanding, it cannot be overstated. We have been at that point in this life or another. You know, fortunately for me in this life, I came from total unconsciousness to awakening. I didn't spend the whole life in unconsciousness. And the gamut of what I have run from what I would term today as sheer stupidity, yet it certainly seemed to be a good idea at the time, to a more sublime state of existence, one still replete with struggles. This holiday season, restore your power to yourself. In understanding others, you will be able to better understand yourself. Take back the responsibility, not the blame, because there is none. But take back the responsibility to make the choices for you and only for you. And that includes how you wish to perceive and treat another. Look past those things that you would find irksome. Because in truth, it irks you because of your connection to it. Because of your ability to exhibit the same sort of egoic behavior. And it is so easy for us to see it in another and not realize it in ourselves. And in all your interactions, when you allow yourself to see everyone around you as a version of you at varying states of consciousness, you can then ask one and one question only to decide what steps you must take. How would I wish myself to be treated in this moment to help bring me to the state I am in now? If you let that be your guiding question, you will help to awaken every member of your family over time. You may not see the results of it in this life, but you will have a more peaceful holiday. You will have a more peaceful and tranquil Christmas experience. And you will plant seeds which one day will sprout in this life or another for those other souls we're interacting with. The people who stay in our lives for any length of time have incredible value to us because they are offering a long-term mirror of our evolution. We often look at those mirrors, our brothers, our sisters, our fathers, our mothers, our aunts, our uncles, our nieces, our nephews, our long-term close friends, and we forget the value. That mirror isn't quite so polished anymore. You know that mirror, and you know that mirror has a way of reflecting to you a lot of yourself that you may be uncomfortable with. Allow yourself to see those mirrors anew. Allow yourself to see yourself anew and make new choices. Do not react. Do not recreate the old circumstances and the old events as much as in their unconscious states they may be prone to do. Understand instead from whence this arises, and with compassion and understanding and patience, choose to create instead new openings, new opportunities. Eckhart Tolle said that if you want to test how awake you are, go spend a week with your family. And I would say the acid test is always during the holiday season, especially if there's some alcohol involved. It tends to loosen people's tongues. They tend to speak a little more openly for some reason. And I would say that allow yourself to be open, but speak from a place of compassion. Whenever you can, in whatever state of awareness you find yourself in, try to keep these words in mind. How would I, in the current state of consciousness I see before me, wish to be taught, wish to be treated, wish to be understood, and allow that be your guide. Don't get caught up in the competition of trying to meet up to, I said this to Kelly a long time ago when we first got together, and the odd one of her Christian friends would still come by and knock on our door and try and convince her that she was going straight to hell. You as a being have full conscious control over one thing and one thing only. And most times we have given up that control. And that control is in how you choose to perceive the world around you. How much of how you perceive your relatives, how much of how you perceive your relationships is honestly tied up in how you feel about yourself? And can you let that go? Can you throw out those egoic filing cabinets? Can you meet the people fresh at the table this holiday season? Don't get caught up in the drama. If someone is in a state of unconsciousness, and you in your conscious awareness and in your growing awareness consciously, take what they say and allow it to impact you negatively, are you not looking backwards for advice from a place you've already been? Would you really expect any other answer except the one that you have been given from someone at that state of consciousness? Be at peace this holiday season. There's really nothing else I have to say today. It wasn't going to be a very long one. You will notice that I have changed the group privacy policy to closed, which means our group will be visible and we as Awaken the World will be visible as the owners of the group, but all posts, all comments are stuck inside of the group from now on. So hopefully that will encourage people to open up a little more, to be a little more free, to say what they need to say, to seek the help that they need to receive. Christmas, as with any holiday, is truly an opportunity for us to test ourselves, to see exactly how far we truly have come along. And rather than beat yourself up at finding yourself still struggling, see it as a victory. See in your awareness how recognizing the areas where you still are not stepping fully into your own power, still not being open enough with yourself to accept the awesome responsibility and joy of being whole and complete and needing no one to tell you so. And of course, that's a big difference from desiring to spend time with people. You know, we all desire companionship. And there is nothing wrong with companionship. And companionship comes in a myriad number of forms, from the companionship of a cat or a dog or a bug that you see every day, to the companionship of a tree, a well-loved plant, a brother, a sister, a mate. Always, 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 we find it so easy to focus on that which we perceive we do not have. And in that, we take our attention off of what is before us, what is right now. And we find we lose it all in that process. Because what was will never be again. It can't. We live in an efficient universe that wants experience to grow and evolve. But you have the opportunity, and this is the beautiful opportunity. No matter how hard it was last time with your family, you have an opportunity for you to make this time special, just for you. Namaste to you all. We will have more meditations, more discussions, starting at the end of next week after Kelly's performances in the Beauty and the Beast play are over. Have a wonderful, wonderful Sunday afternoon. Again, namaste. Much love.